All right, let's share. As we enter the last weekend before Election Day.
I did listen to Joe Biden on with Jason Bateman and Sean.
Oh, yeah,
Hannity,
yeah.
That crew.
Smartless.
Oh, they fucking killed him. They crushed him.
Gatorade Zero. If you drink one serving of it,
Yeah.
0 calories, no carbs. If you drink this whole bottle,
Yeah.
5 calories, 2 carbs. How? Is it the bottom of the bottle that gets you?
I don't know how that works. All right, here we go.
Let's do it.
It's an all-new Brad and Britt cast. This wraps up the week for us. We wrap up the week on Thursdays so that we can head down to Guadalajara for the weekend usually.
Oh, you got that right.
Mm-hmm. Can I take a little victory lap? I think I understated yesterday that following whatever President Biden was going to say during his speech, which was carried on MSNBC and CNN. I don't even know if Fox carried it, but boy, they were right in there to beat the shit out of it and trash it. And,
right.
And they're still, my God, this is a dictator. What is he? He's the one. He's the one that's the danger to democracy. Oh my, this is the most over the top. Why is he talking about this? Why won't he talk about inflation? This is a big distraction. So he's afraid to talk about the things people really care about.
The key to this speech was you can't trust election deniers and don't vote for them. And democracy is at stake, which, I mean, those are two fairly uncontroversial opinions.
It's so far out there. How dare he?
I mean, it's not really that much, is it?
Wrong.
You tell your kid, I want you to look both ways before you cross the street. Fuck you, Mom. You don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I thought it was fairly uncontroversial, but it's fine.
Yeah, I'm just looking over here at Fox.com. Conservatives on Twitter repudiated the speech. Okay, all right. Well, how about that? Can't we? Buck Sexton is quoted.
Yeah.
Federalist senior editor Daryl Arsenal tweeted, "Despicable speech from a despicable president."
Can you be more specific as to what you didn't like, sir?
Fox News contributor Joe Concha tweeted, "It's stunning that this is what the party in power has chosen as its closing argument, heading into a midterm where every sane Democratic strategist will concede is about inflation, crime, border, fentanyl, and
fentanyl.
Education."
Yeah, we still got all those kids that were getting out of the ICU from that rainbow fentanyl, right?
Yeah.
Jesus God.
You can have two thoughts at the same time.
Can you?
You actually can say, all right, 5 days before, should a president with middling to low approval ratings be talking about the kitchen table issues that are driving voters right now into the arms of Republicans all over the country? Let's go to Arizona right now. Let's go to New York. It used to be a blue state, and now it could turn red. Ah! I mean, I've never thought this before, but I'm thinking it right now. The coverage of this is a self-fulfilling prophecy on behalf of Republicans right now. It really is. They're quoting every poll possible to talk about how every formerly blue state and blue senator and is in danger. He's in danger. They're going there. And this, Britt, I would submit, can depress the vote. It can signal to Democrats why you're even bothering to go out. Why bother?
I think that's true. I mean, it's always been true in my lifetime that low turnout benefits Republicans, right? I can't recall an election where they went, boy, the high turnout's going to really help out the Republicans.
Now, you could say back to me, Brad, they're just telling the truth. They're not shading it. They're not wearing rose-colored glasses to make it appear as if the Democrats still have more. They're telling the truth. Well, yes and no.
Right.
Because you would think there'd be a little bit of humility here in reporting every poll that's being taken and published right now. You'd think that every one of them would be subject to, we're not quite sure. Mm-hmm. This is what it's showing, but we have no idea what the ultimate turnout will be. We have no idea what a large early voting turnout number is going to mean. We don't, but instead it's just, well, it's just a question whether it's a big wave or a tsunami. We're going to have Republican control. And God forbid that Joe Biden, a man whose brain was checked out of his body years ago, is so stupid that on the eve of the election, he would talk about what happened on January 6th and what it has done to our politics and what is going on right now across the country in terms of candidates who deny election results, who are ready to turn this country upside down and destroy its political system in order to declare themselves forever in power. That guy who's running for governor in Wisconsin. How about that guy? That's the guy that said the other day, you know what? If I get elected governor of Wisconsin, you will never have to worry about a Republican not getting elected again. We win it forever. That's what he said.
I mean, and it is fair to play the turnaround game. If that had been a Democrat saying, get me in office and we'll never have a fucking Republican win a race in this state again, they would be going nuts right now, right? The pitchforks would be coming out. The villagers with the torches, everything. They'd be going crazy.
Well, it depends, Britt. If the Democrats had spent years and decades plowing the ground in terms to suppress the Republican vote. Yeah, but you know what? Wouldn't be a big deal. So in an isolated sense, you're right, but there we are. I thought that, again, why at 7:00 Eastern time? Okay, that is not a prime time speech. And listen, liberal press, it wasn't a prime time speeches are not at 7 p.m. Okay, because I'm good at this. 7 p.m. is 4 o'clock in California.
It is, yeah.
It's 5 o'clock in Denver.
Yeah.
And it's 6 o'clock in Chicago. That's not prime time, but okay. And it did not get broadcast network coverage because it was a political speech, which it's okay. Presidents are allowed to give political speeches. On the other hand, I'm glad that Joe Biden has made these statements the last few months several different times, because when the history books are written, and they're being written right now, it wasn't as if we weren't warned. It wasn't as if we didn't see right in front of our own eyes, just like in other sophisticated Western style countries, including Germany in the 1930s, well-educated populations that decided, you know what, let's chuck this democracy thing. Let's put it in the hands of one guy, one party. That's cool. We've been warned. And I just find it unspeakable that the entire Republican Party and Joe went out of his way to make sure several times it isn't all Republicans. It's just the MAGA, and we know that. But Joe didn't want to go as far as we can go, which is say, no, it's all Republicans, because all the other Republicans who are going along, they're in the driver's seat. They're in the passenger seat right next to the drivers.
Mm-hmm.
They're part of the problem. They've enabled it. They've allowed it. They're behind it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Their silence is complicity. And it isn't even the Republican Party. It's the citizens of the United States. If across this country there's some kind of Republican sweep, I'm not sure what's left. And what are they going to do? What are they going to do?
I don't know.
And now, are we going to sit here 6 months later and go, oh boy, we really overplayed that one? Oh, look at the great things they're doing, blocking every possible path to anything happening because Joe Biden is forced to veto all this crazy ass bullshit legislation and all these hearings that they're having, these impeachment hearings against Joe Biden. Well, big deal.
They've been very helpful.
They did it to Trump.
Yeah.
What's turnabout is we may be saying, things are okay. I don't think so, Britt. I don't think this is not crying wolf. This is not.
I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to be wrong about that. I'm with you. It looks bad. It looks very not good.
But I'll go back and spend the last weekend here before the election having the hope that there really is, just like there was several times on behalf of Trump, at least when he won in 1616, the hidden Trump vote, that there really is a hidden Democratic vote that won't express itself right now. And it might be over abortion. It might be over democracy. It might be over these things that aren't top of mind in all the polls that are being taken alongside of the horse race number. What's the most important thing to you? Is the continuation of the world's oldest democracy, the United States of America? Oh, that's down at the bottom. Well, it's not at the bottom. It really isn't at the bottom. But it's being portrayed as, well, we moved on. My God, Britt, it's almost been 2 years since January 6th. Yes. How long are you going to beat that dead horse?
Just move on.
You remember on December 7th, 1943, how we had already moved on from what happened 2 years before, because there's nothing you could do about it.
It's no big deal.
The ships are at the bottom of the harbor there in Hawaii. What are you going to do? You got to move on.
September of 2003. I don't want to hear anymore about any planes running into buildings. It was 2 years ago. We got other stuff we got to worry about here.
Right. So I guess we do have to talk about the success, if you want to call it that, of the Republican Party. We've talked about this periodically over the years. They're so much better at lying and playing the politics game than Democrats are. They just are. They're more devious.
What has been their message? What has been the dominating Republican message that has gotten through that is going to supposedly allow them to win?
Well, for a while, it had moved away from just being a referendum on Joe Biden, because when the party in power, the Democrats, can make a midterm election not just a referendum on the guy in office, like Barack Obama in 2010 or Donald Trump in 2018, both of them got slaughtered. If you can make it a choice election, it isn't just about that president, it's about this or that. The Democrats seem to have that working for a while. And when the Supreme Court put down the Dobbs decision, that definitely became a little bit more obvious. It was a choice. Do you want to have the government telling all women that it was a choice? Now, in the last couple months, it seems that the Republicans have ignored the Dobbs decision, but at the state level, they're passing all these restrictive laws.
Correct.
Although you notice they haven't passed any in the last few weeks. You haven't heard about any new ones. You notice that?
Well, it's kind of on pause. I think they're waiting.
Yeah. But now it's just every problem in your life is Joe Biden's fault. Immigration,
Well,
inflation.
specifically, that's if you vote Republican, we can fix inflation.
Correct.
If you vote Republican, the crime that
Especially
they
crime.
won't, the crime that's coming, yeah.
Crime. It's all Joe Biden's fault. And Joe Biden's response, making a speech at 7:00 Eastern time on Wednesday night, was to talk about the threat to American democracy if you dare vote Republican.
Mm-hmm.
And if Barack Obama could deliver that speech nationally, it would work maybe, because he's a lot better at that stuff. The things he's been doing around the country are stellar, but they're not changing any votes. They're not moving people. All he's about is turnout. And I hope that he's able to stoke that in the places that he's been. He's been in the important places, Wisconsin. He's been in Michigan. He's been in Arizona. But Joe Biden is a tired messenger in addition to the message itself, which just doesn't resonate with America. That whole democracy thing, we have that. That's forever. We don't ever have to worry about that. And that political discourse that happened on January 6th, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Britt, I will say it one last time. I promise to never say it again. That the worst thing that happened on January 6th, besides what we know happened, was that no members of Congress and Mike Pence, none of them were killed. Right. None of them were taken hostage, because it's like everything else with these politicians. When it finally happens to them, then they pay attention. And what happened to them was not death. Yeah. That's the threshold, Britt. Yeah, now having to run down the hallway and lock yourself with fear of death of a fucked up mob, not a big deal. Not a big deal. We can ignore that. We need to win the election in 2022. But had some of them been killed, actually killed, had there been funerals, I believe things would have gone differently. People like Mitch McConnell could not have pivoted so quickly, so easily. Donald Trump could not have continued in the same direction had Mike Pence been killed. I don't wish for anybody to get killed, but I think that
would have made the impact. If the Republicans do end up winning because of the crime issue, it is the residue of that defund the police bullshit from 2 years ago, I think, in large part.
Are you kidding? They're still saying it. The Democrats are still out there, every one of them saying defund the police. You know that. I know that. I know that because Republican candidates are telling me that they are still trying to defund the police. Meantime, Nancy Pelosi's husband gets the shit beat out of him.
Right.
And the Democrats' response is defund the police, right?
That's right.
Isn't that how you play that?
That's what they've said, yeah.
Yeah.
I also love the, if I may go back to the Coquette Jr.'s comment that he was happy because it turned out it may or may not be an illegal immigrant who did the attacking. I think we're still in limbo about this guy being a Canadian import or something, the guy that did the attacking. They immediately pivoted to it didn't happen and it's not what you think to. Oh, yes, it did happen and it's the Democrats' fault because they allowed illegal immigrants into the country. So the thing that didn't happen happened because the Democrats let illegal immigrants into this country.
Wait, this guy's been in the country for what, like 10 years?
Yeah, like 10 years.
Some amount of time like that. It may have been even, but this has always been kind of a subtext to illegal immigration, which of course, the way Republicans have demagogued it and never wanted to solve it over all these years, it's the color of the illegal immigrant and the part of the world that they come from that's important. And naturally that zeroes in for the most part on Mexico and Central America. Right now, Venezuela is moving up on the outside. They're moving up on the outside. They might be in the discussion here. But the little subtext to that is, and has been, the Canadian border is way bigger than the Mexican border. How come we don't give a shit about Canadians crossing over illegally? Because there must be a lot of them who've come over either illegally or they've overstayed their well. And that was never a discussion point, was it, Britt?
No,
It
and
never,
I believe some of the
ever met.
attackers on 9/11 came over the Canadian border, did they not? I believe that was proven, wasn't it?
Well, but had they come over the Mexican border, Britt, you imagine that how much worse
Much worse.
that would have been. So if they want to get down into the mud on this and somehow bring that up as some kind of mitigating factor, why didn't you guys have a problem with illegal immigrants who look like us being white Christians here in America? The answer is because you don't care, because they can't possibly be as bad. They can't be mentally ill. They can't be bringing drugs. They can't be bringing their lack of skills and trying to welsh off of whatever welfare benefits are available in California to be able to live on the street. No, it's just the Mexicans. So I think that's a losing card for them to try to play. But
he's a Canadian. He's a Canadian citizen, but he crossed over the Mexican border. Is that wild?
Did he came in through Mexico?
Federal records show that DePape entered the United States legally on March 8th, 2008 via Mexico. He crossed at the San Ysidro port of entry, an official border crossing that links San Diego County with Tijuana.
Oh, so he was a legal immigrant,
yes,
who never left. Is that
correct.
Right?
That is correct. He crossed legally.
All right.
But again, the thing that didn't happen was the fault of the Democrats who are allowing illegal immigrants into this country.
Right. Well, but your point's well taken.
Jesus.
The Democrats have lost the argument on immigration for the most part. Right. I call to your attention, and this really jumped out big time to me this morning, to the point where I actually posted about it earlier on my own Facebook page. The News and Observer, Raleigh, sent a questionnaire to all 4 candidates for U.S. Senate in North Carolina. Believe it or not, there are 4. There are 2 candidates that you probably don't know much about. There's the Libertarian candidate, whose name is Matthew Hoh, H-O-H, and Shannon Bray, who is the Green Party candidate. I may have those parties mixed up, but it's the 2 guys who are with those parties. And if either or both of them drain more votes from, let's say, Sherry Beasley, that could really help Ted Budd. I haven't seen the polling on whether that's helping. But anyway, so they you know how they do this. They send the same list of questions to all of the candidates, and they're supposed to return the document with the answers. These are written answers, right? So Sherry Beasley gives her answers. Matthew Hoh gives his answer. He is the Green Party candidate. Shannon Bray gives his answers. He is the Libertarian Party candidate. And Ted Budd, that's right, did not return the questionnaire. Okay.
He couldn't be bothered.
Now, first of all, that certainly plays into this idea that you and I believe, agree on, that North Carolina has this horrendous history of sending largely inconsequential, nothing Republicans to the U.S. Senate, who have no sway whatsoever, no effect. The other senator who's in office right now from North Carolina, Tom Tillis, the only thing I can recall him getting national attention for was when he had to beg for forgiveness to Donald Trump for standing up, I believe, against the Muslim ban. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And he got on his knees and begged for forgiveness for daring to speak the truth about that bit of racism. So he got back in line. Haven't heard from him since then.
No.
The current senator who's retiring, which is why there's a Senate race in North Carolina, Richard Burr, he has been on self-imposed lockdown coming up on 3 years since COVID. Not because of COVID, but because he is accused of making all kinds of moves in the stock market based on knowledge that he had.
Yeah.
And therefore, you never hear him. You never see him. He's gone. He's just running out the clock.
It'd be a real shame if he ended up in jail, right? It'd be pretty bad if he ended up in prison.
No, it's not going to. No, once you're out there, they don't chase you after you're gone.
Oh, sure they do. That's not true at all. I know it's a white collar crime,
but not on this, because this is winky wink, oinky doink between all of them. Okay?
I think I would put a pin in that. They still chase you down. You don't get to get away with it just because you're out of office. Just you ran out the clock.
Why did Ted Budd not answer the questionnaire? Of course, it's because he is trying to be the stealth candidate. He's trying to be the guy that people don't know that much about, but all I know is that Sherry Beasley is a black woman who loves crime. That's all I know about her. I'm voting for Ted Budd. If you're across the country, that's the campaign here. She's a black woman who loves the crime, and she is the least dynamic candidate that you can think of right now at that level, unfortunately.
Can't you drill down on it a little more? She really, really wants black people to be able to go out and commit crimes. Isn't that really what we're getting down to?
I'm just going to stick with the loves crime. But here's and her answer are they're fairly down the middle, but they're lame. Please highlight the 3 issues that are most important to your constituents right now. She's running for U.S. Senate. Okay. Mm-hmm. Our next senator must fight to lower costs, give job opportunities, and strengthen our country. That's just not going to cut it. It's just nothing. It's pablum. However, again, why did Ted Budd not even answer that kind of question? Because on the questionnaire are 2 gotchas to Ted Budd. This question: what federal legislation would you support on abortion? Well, he's trying to fudge that. He's trying to pretend that he isn't all in on a full ban. So he doesn't have to answer the question there because he doesn't fill out the form. And the final question, last question, Ted Budd. And by the way, all the other candidates, all 3 said, of course, do you accept the results of the 2020 presidential election? Ted Budd is an election denier. He signed the document calling into question everything that was going on when 147 Republicans thought that they could make a difference by fucking around after the election was over, right? So he's an election denier. So he doesn't want to put that in print. So he avoids the questionnaire. So North Carolina wants to send this stiff. God help us all. It's you know what? Sherry Beasley, she's not the most dynamic candidate, but you know what? She would be a fucking hell of a good senator. And you know why? Because she does the work.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? Ted Budd also probably didn't want to answer this because remember, you have to put down what your education level is. And Sherry Beasley went to Duke Law School, and one of the other guys. I mean, all these other guys have high skills and good degrees. I don't know what the fuck Ted Budd did educationally, but so he's avoiding it. But only in this world is that now considered an asset, right?
Right.
It's an asset. So I thought we would talk about, what's going on in our part of the world, because there's enough crap about Herschel Walker and the fucked up state of Arizona, which, can we just put Arizona now really at the top of the list for crazy ass states? Florida is jealous, I know.
But Obama gave a hell of a speech in Arizona again. It was another one of those stem winders.
Oh, he's
killing it.
Well, think about it. I mean, he really can be like Keegan-Michael Key now, who was the Obama whisperer and would interpret when Obama would say something, what he really meant. And he's kind of saying those things. I mean, he went on a riff on Wednesday to the people of Arizona, and he said to them in reference to Carrie Lake, who was on TV as an anchor in Phoenix for 20 years, You really want to elect another person off of TV? How
How
did that work out the first time?
What's he referring to?
Well, yeah, and he just zinged it just beautifully, just
That's
beautifully.
funny.
Now, is that going to change any minds in Arizona? No, of course, nothing does. Nothing matters. But maybe you don't know. You don't know for sure. And I don't see we don't see the local advertising out there. It doesn't seem to have gone beyond the borders too much. Or maybe I'm watching the wrong shows. All right. We got some time here.
Sure.
Shepard Smith out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Here's the story. Here's my quick he's got that 7:00 1 hour of news on CNBC right after Jim Cramer and before 9 repeats of Shark Tank. Jesus. And it went out of their way to not make it an opinion show. Okay. They didn't have panels. They didn't have pundits. They just tried to present the news. And Shepard Smith is as good a news reader as there is. He's good and he's interesting and he's funny and he's all the right things. And they've given it a couple years and they're canning the show. It couldn't stand up in the ratings against what's on against it, which is, let's see, Jesse Waters
Jesus
on Fox, Joy Reid on MSNBC, and on CNN, it's Aaron Burnett.
Yeah.
Those would be the 3 cable competitors. So they didn't make the kind of inroads. I like the show. I watched it a lot.
Sure.
I watched it a lot, and it was a great way to at least take a break from all the yelling. But here's the bottom line for me. It is a definite message to CNN. Okay. If you think that you can garner ratings by quote unquote just doing the news, just quote unquote going back to basic journalism, people don't want that. They want some opinion sprinkled on top of the facts that they like presented favorable to their point of view.
Even though people lie and say that they just want the news, even though people will lie and tell you that. Absolutely. I just want the facts. I'm just looking for somebody with no agenda.
Yeah. And Britt, this was that.
There you go.
This was that. And
it fell on its face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because people lie. They want some shit. They want some sort of confirmation. They want all of the stuff that they can't stand the fact that there's just facts out there. They want to be told how to think. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. So they'll find a spot for Shep at MSNBC or somewhere like that. He'll do fine. I'm not worried about him. But it's an interesting move. And I think they're going to do a full hour of business news after Cramer, which, of course, makes more sense
it does.
Than trying to go mainstream news. But so be it. You gotta stick with your brand, and their brand is business, and their brand is not, news about everything else. So there you go. All right. Warnings to poll workers across America.
All right.
Guess who's a victim again? And Marjorie Taylor Greene on an all-new love bloat.
Give me guess who's a victim again.
You know who it's going to be.
Of course I do.
You know who it's going to be. It's Trump. It's Trump. And who is he suing? He's suing New York. He's suing Letitia James again, going hard right after her for being mean to him. It's basically, you're being mean to me. Why are you doing this? It's true.
What are the grounds for this lawsuit? Meanness. All right.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Trump sues Letitia James for, quote, war of intimidation and harassment. How much can one man be expected to take? 41 pages. And where did he file it, Britt? Guess where he filed it?
Was it in New York?
No.
Where did he file? I don't know.
Where else does he file lawsuits, Britt?
Well, Florida.
There you go.
Yeah.
And what county would he file that in?
Was Miami-Dade or maybe Palm Beach?
There you go.
Jesus.
The filing argued that any investigation would violate his right to privacy and violate his rights as a grantor and beneficiary of the Donald J. Trump revocable trust. Leave him alone.
So again, as a Republican, you have to believe that having the government look into every woman's vagina is not a violation of her privacy, but Donald Trump is having his privacy violated on the reg by tons of people all the time, right?
Boy, you just don't see things clearly. The lawsuit goes on to accuse the Attorney General of New York of ethical misconduct. But listen, shitface, why are you suing the Attorney General of New York in Florida? Ooh, maybe there's a judge down there who you appoint in Palm Beach County. I can't see who if there's one judge that's in charge of this case.
I don't know.
He wants restitution in her $250 million lawsuit against the Trump organization, which is interesting because I thought that all the proceedings right now for which they picked the jury last week for were not about Donald Trump personally. So now he's personally suing on behalf of himself and the Trump organization in a lawsuit that supposedly is not about Donald Trump personally, which it really is, but they pretended that it is not. Okay. And in this case, the lawsuit does not apply to the Trump organization. It's all about him. It's an all about him, Don Trump lawsuit. Mark that one down. All right.
Look at this. I'm going to show this picture to you and people obviously who are listening to the podcast. Look at this pandering jerk, Tim Ryan, with his Ohio State Buckeye sweatshirt on. What a pandering jerk this guy is, the Democratic candidate for the United States Senate in the great state of Ohio. Jesus, Brad. Could the guy be more of a panderer?
Yeah, he should be wearing a Michigan. Right? Be fair. You big dummy. You're a big dummy. All right, we've got the standard issue. How much Thanksgiving is going to cost this year?
Oh, finally.
Story. Yeah. And it's as bad as you thought it would be. And whose fault is it going to be that you're paying more for your Thanksgiving dinner? Go ahead, say it.
Joseph Robinette Biden Jr.
Joe Biden. Cost of a turkey is expected to rise 23% compared to a year ago. This is from a report from analysts at Wells Fargo, whose slogan is, "We're the bank that cheats the shit out of you."
I love that. Why are these crooks the ones that are doing the survey? Fuck y'all.
Turkey prices up. Everything's up. Cost of eggs, flour, butter, fruits, and vegetables already up 32, 25. You know, it's up. Now, the most important thing out here, it says this is a really good year to make a reservation and eat at a restaurant because restaurant meals have not jumped up as much as these individual items. And, you know, that's kind of an interesting. Now, I already bought my turkey, Britt.
Yeah, I know you got the turkey.
I did buy my turkey, and so I've got that kind of all taken care of there. But there you go.
Cranberry sauce, the whole thing. It's going to be way more.
Yep.
And that's a significant amount of money too, 20%. But those schmucks over at Wells Fargo can buy.
No, Wells Fargo said, I just don't believe a word they're saying. I choose not to believe that.
Don't they have more dead people whose accounts to open and shit? Don't they have to do some of that stuff now?
Yeah.
Aren't they busy?
All right. Down to two stories. Warnings to poll workers and Marjorie Taylor Greene on an all-new love bloat.
Let's do the poll workers one. The shout out to the poll workers.
Okay. Via the Wall Street Journal, these three little nuggets. In Arizona, after the armed activists, you've seen the video of that, started monitoring ballot drop boxes, two Republican officials in Maricopa County, Phoenix, issued a joint statement. These are Republicans, mind you, to the poll watchers. Quote, "Don't dress in body armor to intimidate voters as they are legally returning their ballots." That's right. We're at the point where they have to tell.
You have to tell them.
You have to tell them. Understandably so.
And again, if I have to tell you, the battle's already lost, really, isn't it?
In Pennsylvania, the Democrat who oversees the state's elections has embarked on a PR speaking tour to explain to people, morons, idiots, Fox News watchers, conspiracy theorists, Trumpers. They're on a tour to explain to the public why delays and other unevenness in reporting election results is normal and not an indication of fraud. That was the beautiful part of Trump's move there. Remember when he said, stop the counting? Stop the counting. It's midnight. Election day's over.
It's over.
Remember that? Remember that one?
I do remember that, because it does definitely say in every state election law that at midnight all the votes have to be counted.
Right.
That is well-developed law and well-respected.
One more. Over to Georgia. Brad Raffensperger, right? He's the Secretary of State.
Right.
Who told Donald Trump to fuck off in his bid on the phone call to find me, what was it, 11,870 votes. I can't believe I know that number now.
Sadly.
I can't stand that I know that number. He is highlighting a new text messaging service that allows poll workers in Georgia to instantly report threats and other disruptions on election day. I'm sorry that that's a public piece of knowledge, because you can just bet that right now the conspiracy theorists and the Trumper, they're probably working to try to fuck up that messaging system, don't you think?
I would think so.
That they might get in there and try to hack it and put out false information, right? Because everybody has to have that phone number. If it's a text message, that's a phone number, and all the phone number has to do is be leaked to one person who shouldn't get it, and you could start a chain of disinformation. Excuse me, falsehoods. That could be just so the list goes on and on and on and on here. We're not gonna vote till election day, Britt. We decided we're not gonna do early.
Really?
Well, first of all, it isn't where we vote normally. It's a thing that we have to do to go over there, and it's real easy for us to vote right nearby. They vote at Temple Emmanuel now.
I get it, but I'm younger than you are, and I feel like I could die any second now. I want to get that recorded. I don't know if I could make it. I mean, I just can't leave anything to chance.
Oh, so you're good if you die between now and election day. That's because right. you got your vote in.
It's in. It's recorded. It's there. I'm just, it's ridiculous.
But Britt, what if between now and election day you found out something that made you decide to say vote for Ted Budd?
Right.
You could change it, and now you won't be able to change your mind.
If I found out that Sherry Beasley had raped an entire community of pygmies, I still think I would probably go ahead and vote for her. I'll petition the Board of Elections if anything comes up. I promise. Marjorie Taylor Greene on the love bloat.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you dare forget the Marjorie Taylor Greene nugget, you bastard.
She's hanging out with this right-wing fuckface named Brian Glenn. He is the program director. As soon as I say the words program director, Britt, I know you're excited.
My eyes glaze.
And he's the program director for something called the Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's an internet thing. And he has been with her through much of the campaign. How come we're just finding out about this now?
I don't know.
Their closeness couldn't have been more apparent than last week in Rome, Georgia, when Marjorie Taylor Greene picked up Glenn in her blacked out SUV. Blacked out as in you can't see through the windows. Blacked out could be a problem.
I see what you're doing.
The pair were schmoozing at rallies, it says, dined together and drove to the home where she's staying following the split from her husband, Perry. Did she get the house or did he get the house? I can't tell from
I'm not sure. I can't tell.
Mr. Glenn left his wife just 3 days after Marjorie Taylor Greene's 50-year-old husband filed. Oh, Oh,
family
so
values.
she was fucking around on the husband
No,
with
that's
this
not true.
guy.
No.
And then as soon as he dumps her, Green dumps his wife.
No,
Glenn dumps his wife.
There was a
Whoa.
72-hour separation of their events. Nobody was fucking around.
Yeah. He's 54. He denies that he and MTG are romantically involved. Boy, I sure wouldn't want that out if I was.
I don't blame him. Honestly, I can't say.
He says his divorce has nothing to do with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Boy, there's some weasel wording, isn't it? Right?
Well,
his
attorneys
totally weasel wording.
That's
Nobody
what his attorneys told him to say.
Yeah. Last year, the Daily Mail revealed that Marjorie Taylor Greene did cheat on her husband with this guy named Craig Ivey, the polyamorous tantric sex guru. Remember all that shit?
I do remember it, yeah.
And then she moved in on a manager of a gym named Justin Tway.
Yeah.
She filed for divorce back then, but reconciled. But sometimes the temptation is just too great. He says, Mr. Glenn, that the only passion he and Marjorie Taylor Greene have is for conservative Christian politics. Isn't that sweet? Isn't that sweet? Right. You know, that's why Eva Braun and Hitler never got married. They just shared a passion for killing millions of Jews and gypsies and homosexuals and setting up concentration camps and taking over the world. But their relationship didn't go beyond that.
That's all it was.
Don't you go any further.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
Oh, and on that note, I think we should end things.
And we wish the young happy couple all the best. We do.
You know, of all the exploding vehicles that Elon Musk is building, why can't he sell this couple a nice exploding vehicle? I mean, of all the people that are burning to death in a fiery mass in a vehicle, why can't these guys do it? I don't understand.
Britt, don't get us started down the road of the wrong people tend to die.
It's true, though.
There's no end to it.
It's 100% true, though.
There's no end to it.
We'll see you Monday.
on Monday.
Yeah, go out and vote early just in case.